quite sure what's gone on there. Do apologise to any admins who are watching. Yes. So hi everybody, I'm not quite sure what's going on with the stream there, but I'm in with you now. So for any admins that are listening in, the stream was running but seemingly not making its way to YouTube, so I do apologise about that. Sorry for all those in the silver tier that have missed out on the laps. We are just catching the end of the pro drivers. We've got Damrat who's attempting to take the fight to Muller. We've got Clayton just finishing his lap. And towards the line he comes. No improvement as of yet. Let's go on board with 814. So here comes Sharp in a bright yellow McLaren. And he's 6 tenths down still. Got car 133. That's Din, not improving. Car 43 of L. Prentice. The car that I'm going to nickname Bumblebee for this evening doesn't improve. Car 884 of Eden crosses the line, doesn't improve. 6, 7, 8 of the other apprentice in the Mustang, the Hubba Bubba Mustang, as my good friend Retro would call it, doesn't improve. The track does not seem to be rewarding these drivers at the moment. Aboard with Antonori, doesn't seem to have improved once again. We'll go up the pack to car 500. We'll go on board with Clayton in the Minstrel Ferrari. What looks like a little bit of a my glitter there. So yeah, if any admins have joined the stream, just let me know. Does it sound alright? Does it look alright? And Clayton's going to power himself towards the line. And no improvement. I wonder what's going on with the drivers not getting much improvement at this point in the race. Oh, then he's gone a bit rumbling on the exit there of the final corner. Powers towards the line. Qualifying is now officially over, but drivers can finish their laps. Ardin does jump himself up, puts himself P2 on the grid. Car 43, where are you? Prentice brings himself up to P7. Car 884. That's Eden. What can he do at the last gasp? Very menacing looking Ferrari. Does bring us up to P11. There is some improvement left in this track. Right, Jay Prentice in the Hubba Bubba Mustang. Hubba Bubba Mustang. Using all the grunt of that Mustang. Fires himself towards the line. Goes P13 remains. 369. Furthest down of the pro drivers, Antonori puts himself in P19. Got car 21. Sween, P6 is where he's going to sit. Clayton, who is going to be the last driver to be able to start a lap. Let's finish the lap, and he's pulled off to one side. So there you have it, everybody. There is your results for qualifying. We've got Muller leading the pro division, off from Din by 2 tenths. Then Damrat and Sharp fill out the first 2 rows. And we've got Revel mixing it in with the pros in P5. Then Sween in P6, Prentice in P7, Armran P8, Clayton in P9, bring down G Brown second in his tier, but down in P10 on the grid. Then we've got Eden mixing it in with the silver drivers, then Krevik in silver, Prentice in pro. Got a group of silver drivers then in Tabbers, Cerner and 14 to 16 respectively. Then Dial's in a silver sandwich in P17, followed by Rogers and Antonori furthest down in the Pro Division. The bottom end of the silver tier is BTK, Handley, Kukurmalakis, Grafe, Grenrich, Richings, Schmidt, Gedman and Mulnix. And we're just going to wait for some of these guys to over into the race, and we're going to get 20 minutes of sprint race followed by 40 minutes sprint. If you're not familiar with the format, no fuel stops or tyre stops required, so they get to sprint from the start to the end with no pitting required unless your car comes back a scrap. So yeah, apologies once again for anybody that did miss obviously the section of the qualifying. I did hit stream, wasn't made aware until a few moments in that the stream hadn't quite been picked up by YouTube, so I do apologise for that, but we're on the right side of the racing and we're going to get going as soon as we can. Let us know in the comments if there's anybody you're rooting for. I've already spotted SLC's Undead rooting for his fellow admin in that league, Carl Revel. So yeah, let us know anybody else who you're rooting for, who you're rooting against, or if you've got any just broader predictions that you'd quite like to see play out in the race. Looks quite windy out there if you're to believe the flags, as we have to unfortunately put up with the Tannoy man who's letting us all know about the track in his native tongue. So just my voice and the sound and the Tannoy and the sound helicopter for now, but we are going to get engaged in what is going to be quite a tight and technical race. So you can join the league. I'm sure there'll be an admin in the comments that can send you a Discord link. You can also sign up through SimGrid. I'm sure somebody in the comments, whether it be an admin or otherwise. Please enlighten me, Undead. What was the wrong account? But I'm sure there's be an admin in the chat that will be able to inform me on how to let me join in the racing in FRL. They engage in ACC, as you can see, Assetto Corsa, iRacing, GT7, Formula 1, you name it. If it has four wheels and you can race it online, FRL have got you covered. I do apologise for a bit of the track morphing there. Not quite sure what's going on. It's particularly far back in the grid, hasn't particularly rendered. Did Retro make the track? Oh, possibly. Clearly the stream is missing him. So as you see now, it's a very long grid that's going to file into this first corner. The corner does originally open up. You can go almost four wide into there, but you're going to need to find yourself two wide midway through before you can exit into three wide once again. So there's a lot of reshuffling to do. Track switches from right to left and then right again. So there's a lot of pinch points just in the first few corners that the drivers need to be able to avoid. I hope not, Undead. I really hope there isn't chaos incoming. It's got high potential for it, but we've got some quite experienced drivers in here that I'm sure will be able to navigate at least a few of the corners before any calamity ultimately takes hold. So within 8 seconds, the drivers need to start hitting drive so they can be engaged in the racing. If not, if you're not familiar to ACC, they will get reset to the pit lane, but I'm surely hoping that will not happen. There's our warning for 30 seconds. All the drivers can now hit drive, jump into their cars, ready to race.
20 seconds.
So if you're wondering why all the cars are just bouncing up and down like they're on some sort of pogo stick, that is exactly why. They are joining the race, and that is a good sign. We want to see
10 seconds.
jumping for joy. As Brown has just engaged his lights, sorry, that is Din, sorry, just engaged his lights in his red, white and pink Porsche. It's quite strange how it is emboldened some of the names there. But off we go. We are now engaging in our formation lap. Now thankfully for all the drivers involved, they will ghost ever so slightly. Just going to get the camera and let it once, and then we'll back in. So we just have to sit in this menu until we're ready to go racing, just so we can get as wide an angle of the action as possible. I do think this particular mode is best for streaming, but unfortunately it's a nightmare to navigate, so we will go back to the garage view. But we can still see Moller leading the way. All the drivers in neat single file up and down the grid until they'll be asked to reform into double file just before the final corner. Thank you for all those that have joined us so far. I see you dropping in and dropping out. I imagine some of those will be the drivers, hoping to hear a bit of the scoop of the racing as I commentate over it. I do apologise in advance for any croakiness throughout the race. This will be the longest format I've ever had commentating by myself. I usually have a trusty sidekick by my side. So yeah, looking like Muller and Dim really looking to get on with this. The drivers have been given that instruction to form in double file. They're edging back and forwards. Found out in a race earlier on this week there is a lot of margin you can take in the box that leads them onto the grid. You can almost pull up alongside, or almost ahead if you play your cards right. I don't think Din will be too keen the fact that he's been run over the marbles here. Line up cars as they slowly pull into a straight line coming onto the grid. So we're going to get going very, very soon. We have a short
green light.
And there we have it. Away we go. Muller has immediately been beaten off the line by Din. Din just edging ahead, but will Muller come back down the inside? That line is cut off for him. Din gets a little bit out of shape, but off he goes. So Muller, who dominated qualifying, all of a sudden dropped by Din. Well, Damrat closing in now. A lot of very brightly coloured cars ahead there. Looks like Revel has made up places on the opening straight. Further back, we've got several cars side by side. As I'm just starting to lose some of the timing boards. No, Din has made his way ahead. Muller not letting him go after a shaky start. He has caught Din back up. No need to hold station, you can just push hell for leather. Sterneman following the Hubba Bubba Mustang through this tight technical sections, but you'll watch now, the Hubba Bubba Mustang does pull away once traction gets a hold. Maybe not so much on traction, on straight line speed. There he goes. Go up towards the front. Muller with the superior power as this track straightens out. He pulls back up. This will be the first test with slipstream down the straight. Can Muller fight this long term? He does drop Damrat quite well. Din goes defensive, sets the fastest lap of the race so far. Muller very much closing on the rear here. Does not let him go whatsoever. Molnix very close to the back of Grenarich. Looks to poke his nose towards the inside for a bit of a distraction. Got Hanley following the ever colourful BMW of Rogers. Tries the wide line on the outside, nothing doing. The BMW will get out there fairly comfortably, especially as Din has a little bit of a shake of the rear. We go back to the front. Muller still really not letting this one go, but is he going to get caught out by a bit of dirty air from Din? Already washing towards the grass. Looks like Din isn't quite dumping them in the back. Damrak is staying in touch. Muller looking very, very good on the brakes. How's his traction? Down the foot goes, up the gears, he shifts. Will there be a dive? No, you need to be very much alongside instead. Holds it quite tight on entry, but it does even out in that second part of the Hanshurst corners. Pack's doing a good job of staying quite compact. Kokomaki showing a lot of interest at the back of Grave. What about Handley? Still not quite giving up the back of Rogers. And Sween wanting to put the silver driver of Kyle Rebel in between him and his competition. We've seen Kyle in the past not so much bothered by giving up positions to the pro drivers, but he wants it done as efficiently as possible. We go back forward to Muller though. Muller who's super close, almost pushing Din down through these S's. Now it doesn't usually open up through this kink, but the next one, as the track widens, sometimes opens up an overtaking opportunity. It looks like Din through that section just managed to get an extra car length between him and his opposition. But Muller setting up a wide line, turns in nicely, gets the traction, but no, that Porsche with the engine set so far back does very well to get the power down. What about Clayton further back? And the white with the blue accented Ferrari chasing down Fitterer in the Lamborghini. Black and white, facing all up, black on black. But Clayton is trying to get ahead of the silver driver, not in his tier. How hard will this get fought? Clayton drifting a little bit wide. But what seems like superior straight line speed, but I know that Lamborghini from my experience does have a lot of traction, but he drifts wide as Fitterer, but then does cut back well to defend the position. Does look like Muller has just dropped back a little bit. Carrera with the fastest lap of the race to hold back Sween. Clayton getting very impatient behind the silver driver of Fitterer. Here he goes. Looks like Fitterer is doing very well. Facing his car exactly where he needs it. Oh, as it looked like Clayton for a moment was going to throw one to his inside. As he does eventually. Oh, that's too deep, and that's sent them both either round or off. And Rogers and Hanley let themselves through the middle. It looks like Fitterer is still trying to defend things here. Oh no, and that's Rogers around. I do wonder how that's going to get seen by the stewards. And Hanley comes through that, having gained a lot of positions from those around him. You know, drama towards the back of the grid. Now Rogers shoved to the back with Kukumlakis. Surprisingly, the grid's still not massively stretched. Biggest gap at the moment is Kravik back to Tabbers. We've got on board with Moller. He now appears to be leading the race. What's happened to Din? Din is round. Din is round on the exit, or the trying to pick out where he is. Oh, what a shame. But Moller now leads them away. As painful as Din has done the right thing there, letting all those cars by. And away he goes. Oh, what a shame. As Grenerich, for no reason, have received a drive-through. Suspect for track limits. I do wonder if that spin of Din's has got anything to do with Moller. We'll find out after the race. We've got Richings who's trying to chase down a pro counterpart, the P17 in this race. We've got a fair few seconds before he catches up with Hanley in P15. But Hanley is being pressured by Clayton from Pro Tier. Clayton heading over the red and white curb. Nice wide line on exit. But I think does seem to drop back from the straight line speed that Hanley's managed to work into his setup. Sween getting even closer onto Revel now. The domination of McLaren at the top is second only to the Mercedes of Moller. All these drivers, every single driver on the grid promoted by the unfortunate accident with Din. Din will get another shot in the feature race after this one, 40-minute sprint in race 2. As Kyle gets a little bit snaky on the exit, will this invite Sween in? It's closing marginally, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near enough. Damrat now, with the absence of Din, wants to come back at the Mercedes. Damrat, who's just been biding his time, not got himself engaged in anything silly. Be no missing that in Moller's mirrors, both on colour and in presence. But as we get onto the straight line speed of that Mercedes of Moller, just pulling away. It's a little bit rear happy on it on corner entry, but that's okay, it helps him round the corner for now. Further back, Rogers has started making moves back again. P23 for the man in the BMW as he lines up Schmidt down the straight. Another one of the powerhouses of the grid, the BMW. Closing under braking. Goes just down to carried speed. G Brown now in the Bentley. The ultimate big barge. The black with a neon trim. Chooses the extra wide line, hoping for a cutback. He gets it on, but he's going to be waiting for a second cutback. Takes an ultra wide line. Turns it in. He's going to find himself underneath the wing of that Ferrari. He's set it up nicely. What looks like ultra soft tyres on that car. He throws himself to the inside and backs out early. Sterneman's viewing this and seeing all these alternate lines that Brown's taking, and he's licking his lips. Damrat, having dropped sharp, can now fully concentrate on Moller at the front. Moller just holding this steady gap of about half a second. it's safe for the time being. Clayton has dropped a little bit back from the 6th attempt, so we're currently tracking him at. We've got Din at the back of the grid, looking to send one on Kukumalakis. Pit straight approaches, Kukumalakis goes defensive, puts himself all over the marbles. Porsche on Porsche. I think Din's going to have bravery on the brakes here. He does. Times it absolutely perfectly on the brakes, and through he goes. Every little counts for this part of the season. As Damrat slides around that corner, turn 10. Mercedes superior of the curbing. Damrat struggling to hold the tight line. Sharp is closing back in ever so slightly. And Rebel finally has a lot of company with Sween. Sween, who was being held at a reasonable distance before, is now occasionally pulling slightly alongside Revel. Has Sween set himself up better for this straight? We're about to find out. Revel comes off the embankment, goes defensive, goes over the marbles. Sween throws a move to the outside. Looks like Revel concedes. Doesn't think it's worth battling hard into the first turn. He does have plenty of time back to Prentice though. Other battles down the grid. Got Brown in the Bentley. Trying to put one on Eden. Can't imagine the steering input Brown has to put in that Bentley to get that thing to turn. It needs to be a Viking with an oar. There's a very composed driving here from Brown. But not so much from Eden. Eden onto the gravel. Invites Brown in. He says, thank you very much. Now Sterneman comes in, wants a bit of that. Ooh, almost a bit of a rub. As they round Renault into Vodafone. Ooh, Sterneman gets a little bit rear happy. But he's going to come out of this corner almost side by side. The faster line does take Sterneman forward. Eden does maintain that position for now, but that's invited the Hubba Mustang of Prentice into the mix. Brown has very much left this group for dead now, and down this fast back straight, I don't think he's going to have any trouble dropping them. Right down the grid, we've got Rogers closing in on Schmidt. Maybe blue on blue, but I promise you it's not that friendly. And he's got Din approaching. Din, who I don't think has suffered too much damage, could cause Rogers some problems here. He's a very fast driver, is Din. Rogers, who's going to be making easy positions on his fellow silver drivers, might end up having to consider conceding to Din, who's going to come through very fast, I'm sure. The fight for the lead has been tough the whole way through this race. The gap to first has been no greater than a second at any point in this race. It's great to see. As Moller plants the power down. Got only 4 minutes left of this race, and positions could still go so many different ways. But this is close as I've seen Damrat be. Damrat matching Moller's braking into the corner. Both taking quite a lot of curbing on the outside. As the Mercedes just pulls away down the straight. It's quite stark when you see it from that perspective. Sterneman closing on Eden. McLaren versus Ferrari. Taylor's old as time. Prentice dives deep, but not quite as deep as Eden. Eden goes deeper still. That's Sterneman into the carousel. Does he dare? Gap was momentarily open, but nothing doing. Revel still staying quite well in touch with Sween and not giving anything up to it. But who is that in the gravel car? 79. Oh, 79 in the gravel. Sorry, I can't find on the list. That's Gedman. Unfortunate. Such an unfortunate time for Gedman there, but we go back on board with the leading pair. Damrat just getting edged out around the final embankment. And what can he do here? There's just enough straight on this track for Mola to dominate. There's no question Damrat's closing in the corners, but unless he can get ahead. It's only 2 minutes remaining now. Might seem some more desperate moves being made. Like Schmidt with Rogers. 3.5 tenths is the gap. A good turn in here can really set you up for the pit straight. And does it seems a great drive there against Rogers. Once his power takes hold, not much fighting. Damrat through Vodafone. Just getting a little bit shook up in the dirty air from Mola. I tell you what, he's got a good exit nonetheless. He was gaining down that straight for a change. So we're going to follow this battle for the final lap of the race. They're going to cross the checkered line racing for one last time. But just very much like Mola, did a great final embankment. I don't know if this is Damrat maybe giving up. As the gap has jumped up to nearly 9 tenths. That's not to say he can't close up again. He's clearly shown that he can catch up in certain sections of the track. I think it's only a couple of car lengths still. Sharp still very much on for a podium spot here, but he has kept that gap nice and wide for these two. Apologies, I think we are due to get one additional lap after this one. And into Vodafone, Damrat choosing wider lines now. Trying to put Mola off. Mola kept a pull head. In the land of windmills, helped him stay cool. Damrat giving it absolutely everything. Is on the grass. Doesn't lose too much, but it's absolutely lost his opportunity to stay close there. As Mola rounds the final corner, goes over the line and claims victory, followed by Damrat, then Sharp, with Sween being closely followed by Revel. Prentice with very respectable P6. Omran has been fighting off G Brown. G Brown has made quite the charge in that Mustang, so well played to him. Got Sterneman P9, Prentice P10 by Eden, Kravek, DLs and Tabbers. The battles can be followed through the line. Richings, who clearly was making quite a battle for this towards the end, but just dropped off. Another Mustang comes over the line. We've got Rogers, who was affected, unfortunately, through incident. Finishes P12, and followed by Mornix. Schmidt and Din gains a little bit of honour back, brings us up a few places, up to P24. Still finishes on the lead lap, despite how many cars he had to let pass by. Great sportsmanship shown. Coco Malakis followed his Porsche compatriot through, and Grenarich, the unmissable Gedman, and there you have it, folks. That is your results for race 1 of Super Sprint Sunday around Zandvoort. Get the timetables for any admins that are watching and maybe need them. And there you have it. And just in case I need qualifying as well. So yeah, we're just going to wait for the drivers to settle in, maybe adjust their fuel, maybe adjust their setups ever so slightly, and we're going to get into 40 minutes of high-octane racing around Zandvoort. I hope I'm doing alright so far, guys. Holding the stream down by myself for the first time. I was just checking my messages. Oh, it's mouth is dry, so apologise if you hear me drink every now and again. It's tough. It's a lot easier once you get into the race. So for those who are just starting to get used to hearing me stream, I've come from a longer history of commentating on Formula 1, so diving into the ACC, so of course the competizione commentary, it's a very different format, very different way of commentating. The interface is a bit more complicated, but I'm trying to do the best I can to bring you all this high octane action. I started commentating only a few years ago, fell in love with it, loved watching and being involved in online racing. As most of us did, we picked it up during COVID, and then it's just a fascination has continued ever so from there. I race in FRL as well. I race on the Taco Tuesdays in the Pro-Am tier, and yeah, I've been enjoying it a hell of a lot. This sort of multi-tiered and very large grid racing is something to really aspire to. Always a battle on track, but there's this many cars on track. But enough about me. The drivers, especially Din, will be more than happy to see the grid get reset back to qualifying, where he's going to start P2 and hopefully get just as good a start than he did last time. So we're going to get another countdown. The drivers are going to hit drive, and we're going to make sure we get a fantastic camera just as we did last time. Because I don't like this one. I don't know about you, but I don't like it. But if you're new to watching us, make sure you hit like, subscribe. Obviously, mention what you can in the comments about what you've seen in the racing, what you'd like to see. Only critique of me, I don't mind. I do apologise if I feel like I'm treading water at all this evening. My partner in crime is stuck on the motorway. There's been there'd be no retro without some sort of crash on a road. So even though he wasn't involved, he's been held up by a crash on the motorway. But only retro could find himself on in a car on the road and never too far away from a crash. Sure, all the admins here relatively familiar with him and his stewarding requirements. So he's not here to he's not here to hear it, he's not here to defend himself, but he's alright. I'm sure he'll get me back at some point. He usually qualifies higher than me. Just notice how marginally unnerving it is that if you look into the stands to the right hand side, they all seem to be looking at me behind the camera than they are at the cars. So I feel like I'm being watched by not just you guys, but all the digital avatars in the game. "40 seconds to go. Once it hits 30, all the cars will bounce up and down like they're on a pogo stick, and we will get a formation lap underway and then into 40-minute race. So watch bounce, 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 like they've all got ants in the pants.
20 seconds.
So now I'll be a bit more of a tentative turn one here. Obviously you've got a long time to come back, but hell of a lot of work to do if you're going to have to. There's no redos over of the 40 minutes like there was in the 20. You want to run this as fast as you can all the way to the end without incident. Now, that's the same with any race, but the longer it gets, the more important it is. So we're going to get that lovely helicopter camera back with us. There we go. As Mola leads them away. Currently showing that Molland in a sharing P2. I guess they kind of are. The grid slots in GT3 racing are quite level actually, so it should just be done in rows. But based on the last race, it did look like Mola had the least preferential side. It was like Din had all the rubber tubes up on the outside as he just swiped past Mola on entry into turn one. So as we go around, Shivlak, let me know if you expect anything different to come out of this race as opposed to the last one. We didn't quite give Kyle Revel the acknowledgement that he deserved, and that he did win that class by a reasonable margin. Mola did manage to stretch a margin at the end of his tier as well. Around Vodafone corner. The straight, to my knowledge, doesn't have a particular name, it just ends in the Hans Ernst bend. So come towards the end of the lap, only a few more corners to navigate from turn 11. As Din draws up alongside, ready to try and repeat his antics of the race before. A lot of cars in the rear trying to retain their position. Cars will unghost quite soon, so all these antics of driving through each other's cars can cease. We'll just be pulling around onto the main straight. We'll As soon as I get green light, I'll do a quick flick onto the control mode I like, and then we'll stay with the racing all the way through. And away we go. Moller gets a much better getaway this time round. He's got his nose ahead. He squeezes Din. Din still attempts to go around the outside but gets squeezed out. Has he committed too much? Has that allowed Damrat up the inside? Moller gets a clean drive away. And Din drives away. Damrat has to cut back in. Sharp almost shoves his nose up the back of Damrat. But they all seem to get away quite cleanly. I'm going to stay on board with the leader until we have our time to squeeze up, but there is fighting in the back. I can see it in the distance there. And it does look like we have one car facing backwards of 884. And that'll be Eden. With one driver who has seemingly returned to the pits. But Moller leads Din this time. Great job to hold that one off. Damrat already trying to size up Din, using the alternate line around Vodafone. Great traction on both of these cars. The Lamborghini does have the advantage in outright pace between the two of them. McLaren, sorry. As we can now go further down the grid, we've got Sween reigniting his battle with Revel from race 1. Revel did give that position up a bit later in the last race. Clayton chasing Omran in his Ferrari. Kukovalakis in his Porsche, giving up a little bit of ground to Gedman, sorry. Oh, was it a little touch behind? The BMW of Grenrich getting tapped, losing a bit of ground to trying to pick the cars out. Now Schmidt, Grenrich. These positions are just messing up a little bit. Definitely Grenrich in the BMW who's getting pressured by the Ferrari behind on Mulnix. There we go, just need to wait for the timing screens. We go back further up. But Moller has got quite a decent lead in now, considering the time of the race. Sharp in the McLaren, matching Damrat through these corners. What can Clayton do at 4/10 of a second? He aces his exits. He might have a real chance against Omran. If Omran can make it to the straights, he should have the beating, but he gets onto the gravel. What will that do to straight line speed as he comes down the pit straight? Does look like Clayton is closing. Gets the traction down well. Omran does seem to have him just covered off for the time being. Gets the corner a little deep, invites Clayton in. We'll get further back to Kravek, who's signing up Pitterer, with Tabbers close to his rear. Tabbers looking the ultimate threat in this pack. The neon with the black and red design. Looking to add a bit more red blood to that Ferrari of Kravek. Tabo's looking very, very confident on the brakes. Maybe that's a small setup change he's made in the brake. Fitter in the Lamborghini does seem to be positioning his car well, acing the traction zones. Pro driver of Sween really wants to put the silver driver of Revel in between him and Prentice. But Revel doing a very, very good job to make swing work for it. Brown is at a reasonable distance behind. I'm going to go back to Sterneman, who's sizing up Prentice in the Hubba Bubba Mustang. Very, very well around Tarzan corner. He might even have a shot at taking him into the carousel. No, elects to set him up instead. Takes a slightly wide entry. They have a hard time catching the Mustang through this section. Now Sweetness is the closest he's been on Revel. Maybe slowed down on the braking there. This is the distance where if once you're underneath somebody's wing, it can really start affecting your lap time, affecting your tyre wear. Renault gets a little bit snaky on the exit. How defensive does he go? Just holds his line for now. Come back on board with Sterman. He positions his car to the outside. You don't really get much of a cut back to that corner as it turns immediately left. Renault pulls away but does go defensive and lets him through in the same way he did in the previous race. He does have that similar gap to Prentice as he had in the last race as well, so maybe this is tactical. Don't fight when you just hold pace to your competitors. Sterneman really putting the pressure on the Hubba Bubba Mustang. Heavy braking through there from Prentice. Oh, Sterneman gets a bit of a snap on the exit of the carousel. But in Din's attempt to catch Mola, looks like Damrat has put himself in the equation. Manny finished P2 in the last race, wants P2 again in this one. Doesn't care that how bad Din's last race went. As he goes for an audacious look around the outside. Will he find traction out there? Looks like he does. He's marching on the inside. He's going to the inside for Hans Ernst's corner. He has to back out as the track kinks to the left. What a great opportunity for a moment. The track just didn't want to play ball with him as he got to the Hans Ernst's corner. Tensions hotting up. Clayton only 3 tenths down on Omran. Omran electing to take a fair bit of gravel there. Need to reset his car if he's going to be successful holding his position down this straight. But then Clayton goes a little wide himself. That's equalised the equation of this overtake. Clayton does close in the braking and holds the corner well. It does look like Omran has regained his composure and holds position nice and strong. Damrock's still very, very close to Din up there. Towards the back, we've got Grenerich catching BTK. We're not quite bold enough to throw a move as BTK showed a lot of space on his inside there. What about Hanley and Tenori? Well, Antonori on Rogers even. Rogers, who's very, very, very common in holding a train in these Sprint Sunday races. With no pits to speak of, he can just hold position. There's a little wide Antonori, does have a look at the inside, compromises his line slightly. Does that invite Hanley in? No. Antonori, despite compromising his line on entry, has really maximised on exit. He's closing, will he throw one? No. It's a very, very tricky corner through a late dive in. Damrat and Din continue this fight. Damrat's gone a little deep there. Nothing too alarming. Bit of a snap-on exit. As Rebel once again is sticking with Sween. He's got no one really challenging. It's the biggest gap on the track. The Sternman catches up with Prentice still. The Hubba Mustang looking like a bit of a handful. Entry into the carousel. There's quite a train he's got behind him. All the way down to Cravat. We go back to Grave in the Mustang, trying to take on Hanley in the Ferrari. Further ahead, we've got Antonori throwing one on the inside of Rogers, but backs out at the last second. I think he would have held that, but he's going to carry on. Gets his nose clipped again. Antonori, will he hold it? Suicide to the inside. He does. Oh, but then he clips the grass and taps through. Rogers, who's been caught unawares of that hairpin once again. Rogers, as he gets a bit out of shape there, still elects to try to take the inside, goes over the curb, loses out as the track gets away with him to his left. 2 positions lost in one sector. Rogers, he will not be happy. As further back we have Richlings forcing his way through. As he then forces the driver off the track. That was Molnix. Oh. That was Richings who got. I was waiting for time between to mend themselves. So it was Molnix, I think, pushed Richings off the track there. Assuming we'll see that in the steward's office later on. We'll go back further up. Clayton chasing Omrang, being chased down by Brown. Rogers is definitely going to want payback on Antonori, who ultimately barged his way through at the Vodafone turn. But for the time being, he's got Hanley to concern himself for. Hanley dances on the back of Rogers, doesn't get anything done, puts himself susceptible to Grave. Grave, who compromises himself. Molnix gets a better line through. About Sterneman back on the Prentice in the Hubba Bubba Mustang. Sterneman not quite getting the exit he wanted. Nose twitch. We can ace his acceleration through here. I think it's just had to get out the power off the back of Prentice. Power goes down. Prentice looked a bit tentative, but ultimately does have the ultimate pace down the straight. Damrat now really closing in on Din. Mola has checked out. As we've got car 211 in the pits. That's BTK. Oh, it was Din, as we just missed it. Din has made a mistake. It's been overtaken by Damrat. Din, subject to errors this evening. Oh, he then almost takes the back of Sharp. So Din losing multiple places as he went round turn 7. Revolt closing back up on Sween, assuming he'll be happy to sit with him as long as he doesn't hold him up. Tested his patience, this, as we've got a big fight in the final sector. Car 500 Clayton has overtaken Omran. Finally, he's been fighting them for quite a while, but what can Omran do? He's going to use the power that's been saving him to try and make an overtake on Clayton here. He's closing. Will there be a dive? Ends up diving deep. And if Brown had seen it coming, he might have ducked down the inside. The other apprentice is still chasing down Fitterer. Lamborghini versus Lamborghini. Looking quite evenly matched at this time. Mulnix and the Ferrari chasing down the Mustang, the black and white and red Mustang of Grafe. Further ahead, we can't help but notice that Hanley is closing in on Rogers. Hanley almost had a position made up in Rogers' little dice earlier. Looks very confident on the brakes as Hanley. Can't seem to match Rogers with full pace the lap. Revel getting ever closer to Sween. They wonder how he might navigate this if it comes to it. Back to Sternyman. He's chasing down the hubbub of a Mustang of Jay Prentice. Sternyman looking like he's really committed on the outside of the embankment. Just not quite equal to the Mustang down the straight. Looks out for some clean air. Brakes well into the corner.